at the hour, STV on Twitter too. Alright, almost every day we hear reports on the news about the war and violence that's raging in Afghanistan, but one woman has witnessed a very different side to the war-torn country, and it's author Mary Smith.
After spending 3 years in the country, Mary has written a book inspired by the special relationship she formed with one of the locals. She joins us now to tell us more. Hello, Mary.
Hi, Mary.
Hello.
So, many people, that part of the world is one of the most dangerous places. It's a no-go area. Yet, you know, you're here saying, and I read some of the book online, and it's lovely stories about lovely warmth and lovely people. How did you end up to be in that part of the world?
Well, that is much too long a story for now. Whiskey was involved, and a spur of the moment decision to go to Pakistan, which led to a job there in a leprosy centre. And while I was working in that job in Pakistan, I met a number of Afghans who'd come over, some for treatment for leprosy, some as trainees, as students who would learn to be paramedic workers and then go back to Afghanistan. So at the end of my first 3-year contract, it was almost logical to cross the border and
go into Afghanistan. So as Joe said, I mean, we see Afghanistan in the news, it's very war-torn, but that wasn't your experience because you were living slightly further out. What was your experience of Afghanistan? Well,
I mean, the war was still going on, but it's a huge country, and I think we don't remember just how enormous it is. So it's, you know, it's like saying if there's a bomb explosion in London, we should all dock in Glasgow. You know, so areas like Helmand and Kandahar, where now Taliban are still fighting, are sort of no-go areas. But I worked in the central Hazarajat region, and it's because it's so mountainous, it's a very difficult area for anybody to hold and control. So whether it was the Soviets or Taliban, the people there just got on with their lives. And up in the north, in the city of Mazar Sharif, it was quite stable because one of what they now refer to as the warlords, General Dostum, kept it very much under control.
So you married over there, you had a son, and did you feel safe in that area?
I did, most of the time. Probably as safe as I would feel here. There were odd
and see pictures of you there?
Right, that was just 3-4 years ago. We went back for a holiday, but that one's an earlier picture. I would describe that as a ceilidh, an Afghan ceilidh.
Really?
With tea, no whiskey.
No whiskey.
No whiskey. And it was great. It was in one of the villages where I worked, and at night, no electricity, so you've got oil lamps, and people gathered and made big thermoses with tea, and they told stories, and the small children danced, and it was great. It was a lovely.
Now, this is the latest book you've written. It's called No More Mulberries, about your experiences there in Afghanistan particularly. And it's dedicated, I believe, to a very special person that you met there. Can you tell us a little bit about Hussein?
About Hussein? Yeah. Well, Hussein was one of the Afghans who came to Pakistan to be trained as a paramedic worker. We think he was about 15 at that time, and my husband had actually met him. He was working as a cook's help in a clinic, and he realised he was a very bright lad. So he came to Pakistan, did the training, and his own parents had died when he was 5, so he was an orphan. His sister-in-law had brought him up. And so when John introduced us, he said, "Oh, you just call her Mum if you've got a problem." So I became Mum to Hussein. And when I went to Afghanistan the first time, Hussein came out to meet me and we travelled in together. So it was great to have somebody that was close.
So the book is called No More Mulberries because you would often meet up and chat and you would eat mulberries together.
Eat mulberries,
Unfortunately, you left, you came back here and things didn't go particularly well for Hussein. What happened after you left?
Well, I got a phone call to say that he'd managed to get out of Afghanistan to Pakistan and brought his wife and their children. And I said, well, go to Karachi and they'll help me get work there. But then he phoned again and said he had to go back to Afghanistan just to visit the clinic. I think he was taking the budget over because we had to take these great wages and money to keep them going. And that was the last I heard. He said, I'll phone you in 2 weeks. And then, 2 weeks doesn't mean anything really in Afghanistan, but when it got to 4 weeks and 6 weeks and there was nothing, So ex-colleagues of mine had tried to find out what happened. And as far as we know, he was travelling and the jeep got stopped and all the passengers were killed.
Poor lad.
By the Taliban?
By the Taliban.
So this book is dedicated to him. It's based on, I mean, it's a work of fiction.
It's fiction, yeah.
It's fiction, but it's based on your experiences over there. You've drawn on that.
I've drawn on that,
and it's available now. What are you doing now? Because of course you aren't living there, you're back in Scotland now. What's happening now that you're here?
I read about some fascinating stuff that you're doing up in Galloway, working with a poet, is it? You're the poet and you're working with a photographer.
That's right. We're working a project called This Galloway, which will have his images and my words. So we're hoping to.
That sounds fascinating. Will you come back and talk to us about that when we see it?
Yeah, and next year I've got my first full poetry collection coming out, and a number of the poems are also set and based in Afghanistan. So
excellent stuff.
Well, listen, thanks very much. I know it's very difficult for you to talk about this because of the loss of Hussein, so thank you for coming on. The book's out now, it's No More Mulberries. Thank you very much, Mary.
Thank you.